Manx Radio's Update with Christian Jones.
Fastamai, good evening. It's 5 o'clock on Friday the 28th of March. Hope you're doing well and welcome into Update, a 30-minute roundup of all the latest happenings here on the Isle of Man. On the way tonight, quite a lot of things about the health service. The Information Commissioner has issued an enforcement notice to Manx Care after it was found to have failed to comply with regulations. Treasury's been reflecting on why it thinks introducing an NHS levy will enable the health service to continue, as it warns demands is outstripping resources. And a group of newly recruited police officers are set to take on a charity walk in aid of Victim Support Isle of Man. First of all, though, it's 1 minute past 5. Let's join Lewis Foster for the latest headlines.
Fastamai. Manx Care has been ordered to review how it processes requests for personal data after it was found to have failed to comply with regulations. The Information Commissioner has issued an enforcement notice to the healthcare provider following a complaint from a former Manx Care employee who submitted a subject access request. A number of steam packet sailings have been rescheduled this weekend, but Infrastructure Minister Michelle Hayward believes more would have been affected if dredging work hadn't taken place earlier this month.
These are the biggest tides this year happening this weekend, and so the steam packet have obviously looked at where those tidal restrictions are likely to come in and adjusted their sailings.
While further work still needs to be carried out, a dredger was in Douglas to tackle mud build-up after the Manxman got stuck. Manx Care and the Great North Air Ambulance Service have agreed a new contract. It will see its services continue on the Isle of Man for a further 12 months. The future of the provision on the island had been subject to some uncertainty in recent weeks. And the W.H. Smith store on Strand Street in Douglas is set to be rebranded later this year to become T.G. Jones. It follows the acquisition of the 480-store high street chain by Modella Capital for £76 million. Turning now to the latest international news, chaos, panic and fear are just some of the words being used to describe the aftermath of a powerful earthquake which struck Mandalay in military-run Myanmar. More than 150 people have died there, and hundreds of miles away in Thailand, where a skyscraper still being built collapsed in Bangkok. The UN says aid's on the way. The US Vice Presidents landed in Greenland. Yesterday, Vladimir Putin said Donald Trump's repeated suggestions to take control of the island should be taken seriously. And Megan Fox has had her fourth child. The baby's her first with ex-fiancé Machine Gun Kelly. Those are the headlines. We'll be back with the news at 6 o'clock.
Cheers, Lewis. Right, let's take a look at the weather this evening, brought to you by Manx Glass and Glazing. A few passing showers are still possible this evening, but these will gradually die away, leaving the rest of the night dry with clear spells and a moderate to fresh west or northwesterly wind, minimum temperature around 3 degrees Celsius. There is also a yellow weather warning that's going to be in place tomorrow. That's for coastal overtopping. That'll be in place from 9 in the morning through till 1:30.
Manx Glass and Glazing can supply and install single, double and triple glazing. Call 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
If you run a small business or just need more room in the back, Philshaw Vehicles has the perfect van or light commercial for all your needs and can sort out any finance. Based in the Tremode Estate, view philshawvehicles.im or call 49 51 49.
A great night's sleep got even better with Zed's Bedding Store. From quality Beldorm bed linen and mattress protectors, fleece and woven throws to luxury duvets from the fine bedding company. Zed's Bedding Ramsey, next to Isle of Man Bank.
SMS Trading. New and second-hand furniture from flat pack to fully built. See our range at 3 St Paul Square, Ramsey. All-island delivery and man-in-a-van service available. Call SMS Trading on 315151 or find SMS Trading on Facebook.
The exclusive Karcher store is open with thousands of products, accessories and parts in stock. For Karcher sales and service, Hersham Electrical, Shipyard Industrial Estate, Ramsey.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
Approaching 5 minutes past 5, and Manx Care has been ordered to review how it processes requests for personal data after it was found to have failed to comply with regulations. The Information Commissioner has issued what's known as an enforcement notice to the healthcare provider following a complaint from a former Manx Care employee who submitted a subject access request. The details from Sean Cowper.
The Commissioner found there were a number of infringements in how the request was handled by Manx Care, including that Manx Care failed to respond without undue delay and that the searches were poorly focused, not reasonable or insufficient. The review also says Manx Care failed to evidence improvement to compliance after being issued with an enforcement notice for similar reasons in August 2021. Alexandra Delaney Bhattacharya revealed several further complaints have been made to her office since that notice was issued, showing Manx Care has not been able to bring its processing into compliance. The investigation found the request for data was specific and clear, but Manx Care failed to undertake reasonable and focused searches, resulting in a large quantity of irrelevant results. Manx Care had also sought additional ID information from the subject. The Commissioner said it was difficult to understand why, given the nature of the request. The individual requesting the information did not receive their data until 4 months after the request, something Dr. Delaney Bhattacharya described as a significant delay that should have been easily prevented. Manx Care now has 30 days to comply with the enforcement notice. Failure to comply could lead to a penalty and the matter being referred to the High Court.
Sean Cowper reporting there, and Manx Radio has approached Manx Care for comment. Now, demand for healthcare outstripping available resources is not just a problem for the Isle of Man, according to the Treasury Minister. Alex Allenson's comments come as he seeks feedback from the Manx public on plans to introduce a new tax to fund health services. The NHS levy would be separate from income tax and could be applied to different income streams. Dr. Allenson says challenges to health budgets is a global concern.
We absolutely need to fund our NHS. We know that year on year we're putting more money into it. We're putting an extra £25 million in this coming year. And we need to reform how that's delivered, but we also need to deal with the underlying funding of it. So that's why I put up income tax from 20 to 22% last year to address that funding gap. Now we've brought it down to 21% in this budget, but we need to look at other ways of raising the necessary revenue to fund our NHS. And one of the options I suggested last year was to consult on an NHS levy. I apologise that it's taken a while to get that ready, but we've launched that now to try to absolutely get the views of our community in terms of the right way to raise the revenue that we need to fund an NHS that's free at the point of need.
In terms of the consultation itself, it mentions the levy, looking at what it could be charged on. You talked yourself there a minute ago about applying it to different things other than income. What could we be looking at here? Well,
we've outlined just about every single option we could think of here. Again, there are no preconceived ideas. I know people might be quite encouraged by the fact that we're looking at applying the levy to people who earn a very high income and perhaps have a tax cap. And applying it to them, to apply a levy to those people who earn money abroad, who don't pay the tax here because they pay it abroad, but are still using our NHS. So should they be paying a levy on their overall income? We've also asked about benefits. There are some people on earnings replacement benefits who currently don't pay tax on those benefits. Should they be paying a levy? Now, this isn't trying to reduce the benefit levels, but it's trying to say if everyone has access to a universal healthcare system, should everyone pay towards that, and should that be fair and equitable? Now, I don't necessarily have the answers to that, but I'm really keen on as many people as possible taking part in the consultation to show how they feel about it.
Treasury Minister Alex Allenson speaking about that NHS levy there. What are your thoughts? 166 177. Now, it's 9 minutes past 5 and Unite the Union has confirmed it's carried out an indicative ballot to gauge whether its members would be willing to take industrial action. It comes as part of an ongoing dispute over pay and conditions, with the union rejecting the 5th revised offer from the Public Services Commission. Prospect is also increasing pressure by calling for the immediate payment of a 4% rise backdated to April last year. I sat down with Unite's Debbie Holsall to find out more.
The indicative ballot has come back overwhelmingly that people are willing to take some form of action. And I think it now comes down to the PSC as to what they want to do.
And are the PSC wanting to collaborate with this?
Well, since close of ballot, we've heard nothing, apart from, I think, an email yesterday and a letter. We are meeting this afternoon, and we will be hopeful that something will be said. It hasn't been very helpful when the chair of the PSC has gone out on his page on social media making comments prior to meeting any of the unions.
Obviously, Prospect has accepted the offer. Unite has rejected it. What sort of kind of collaboration do you now have to do with Prospect to kind of find a mutually agreeable solution forward?
It's not a case of mutually agreeing with Prospect. Our sister trade union we stand with, their members have voted to accept. We've rejected on the basis of it's not a reasonable offer. It is a derisory position from what it was, and a 200 unconsolidated payment across the piece doesn't cut. And it's literally pro rata, meaning that our part-time workers get £100. You take out your NI and your tax, it's left very little. But once again, the top end will get that £200 and bank it and spend it on a cocktail somewhere around the world. It is unacceptable. And if there was a commitment from the PSC for the middle and the bottom earner, they would have used that cost envelope to give that money and distribute it to them people who need it.
Unite's Debbie Holsall speaking to me there. What are your thoughts on that? That's an interesting one. You can email studio@manxradio.com. This is Manx Radio's update, and an Isle of Man woman who has been receiving treatment for ovarian cancer is urging women who believe they may also have it to speak up. Ovarian cancer is the 5th most common cancer in women, with 1 in 50 in the UK diagnosed with it. Sarah Jarvis was diagnosed in May 2023, but says it's difficult to detect as initial tests won't pick up on that form of cancer, and it's only symptoms which give medical professionals a clue. She's joined by her consultant here, Tony Stock, and they explain how vital it is for women on the island to get checked.
There are no tests for ovarian cancer. You have to present with symptoms, and not all of us have major symptoms. So I was very, very lucky with my GP. So that was 2 years ago, and I'm still here, still fighting. During that time, I've had the fairly worst kind of chemo, in my opinion, with hair loss and, just you feel very, very ill, and that takes really 6 months, probably in total of your life, where you're really not able to do very much. If one woman were to be diagnosed at stage 1 or stage 2, unlike me who is stage 3 and other women who are stage 4, you are treatable but you are not curable. It's infinitely more curable at stage 1 and to an extent stage 2. But it's so asymptomatic and can be easily dismissed as irritable bowel syndrome or menopause, or, depending on the age of the woman. I think the thing is, your body. As a woman, your body. You listen to your body. If it's not right for you, then you need to go and see your GP.
Sarah's right. It's really important that everyone engages with this debate. Every man has or had a mother. Most have a wife or a partner. They may have sisters, they may have daughters. And to be confident enough to say, I've noticed that you've been taking a lot of antacids. What's going on? Currently, we have around 200 ladies who are on our books for investigation or follow-up after treatment for one of the gynecological cancers. We're running at about 70% of women having cervical smears, but that means about 30% of the population are not having cervical smears, and most of those are at risk.
Sarah Jarvis and Tony Stock speaking about ovarian cancer there. And as we just heard, Mr. Stock is stressing how vital it is for women to get screened, and is also calling on men to speak to their mothers, their wives, sisters, or even daughters, and encourage them to say something if they feel something's amiss.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
There's some reassurance today for those concerned about the emergency air cover on the island. Manx Care has now secured a new deal with the Great North Air Ambulance Service. Rob Pritchard is with us now. Hi, Rob. Let's just begin with what's been agreed.
Yep, so after a period of uncertainty, Manx Care and the Great North Air Ambulance Service have reached a new 12-month agreement. That basically means the service will continue operating on the Isle of Man from April. There have been fears the island might lose access to the air ambulance, and the charity had even said it wasn't sure it could carry on without a deal.
So what's actually changed then?
Well, quite simply, Manx Care says it's found a solution. It'll now fund the service on a per-mission basis in order to maintain that partnership for another year.
Fabulous. Thank you for that, Rob.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Just gone 5:15 now, and there's quite a lot to be aware of actually. On the roads in Onchan, temporary lights on Governor's Road between the top of Summerhill and Governor's Bridge for pavement resurfacing. In Douglas, temporary lights on Summerhill near the bottom of the hill for gaswork. In Colby, temporary lights on the main roads near the Balacry Park turn for water main connection work. The TT course is closed between Balig Bridge and Cronkovody. The closure is in place for 24 hours a day. The DOI has also issued an update to say that because of predicted adverse weather over the weekend, that closure will now be extended into next week, and it's hoped the road will be reopened by Tuesday evening. Naturally, because of this, the planned closure of the southern section of the mountain road will be pushed back, and that will now be put in place on Wednesday morning from 9:30. The steam packet, there are a couple of things to be aware of actually. Some rescheduled sailings due to tidal restrictions in Douglas, and we'll actually be hearing from the Infrastructure Minister about that shortly. Tonight's Manxman crossing to Heysham, which was meant to leave at 7:15, will now leave at 8 o'clock. Obviously, as a result, the return sailing will leave at 3 in the morning, so an hour and 15 minutes later than initially planned. Further sailings are anticipated to be shifted through till Tuesday. We've got a full list of the ones that could be affected at manxradio.com. Over at the airport, the 4:20 Dublin arrival has been delayed. The departure will now due to get underway at 8:10.
Ask how you can spread the cost interest-free at Quayside. You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
As we just heard, if you're due to travel on the Manxman this weekend, you may have noticed some changes to your sailing times. While some dredging work has been carried out since the Manxman got stuck on a bank of mud, at the start of this month there's still more to do, as Infrastructure Minister Michelle Haywood has been explaining to Amy Griffiths.
Everyone will be aware that we did have a contractor come in and help dredge some of the harbour, and that has helped reduce levels to a reasonable depth. However, there is still more work to be done. These are the biggest tides this year happening this weekend, and so the steam packet have obviously looked at where those tidal restrictions are likely to come in and adjusted their sailings. I really want to emphasise that there's a limited number of sailings that have been adjusted. If we hadn't have done the work that we'd already done, the adjustments would have carried on of pretty much every sailing over about a 5 or 6 day period would have had to be impacted. So the work we've done is obviously heading us in the right direction. We know we've got more work to do, and we are busy planning for that now, and that will happen during the summer.
Why is it going to take until the summer to be able to get that next stage of the work done?
Because we actually need a different sort of vessel and different dredging equipment down there to be able to tackle what's turned out to be quite it's mud, but it's actually been quite reluctant to let go. So we need to tackle it with some different equipment, and we're just in the process of sorting that with, there are about 6 different companies that could provide the service, and so we're just looking to get one of those on board.
And I mean, it's starting to sound quite expensive. Do we have any idea how much this might be costing?
I don't have any idea on cost yet. However, I'm reasonably comfortable that it will sit within the Harbour's works budget.
Infrastructure Minister Michelle Haywood speaking there. And do remember, if you are sailing over the weekend, do check ahead. We have a full list of potentially affected sailings over at manxradio.com. 18 minutes past 5 now, and on Saturday, a group of newly recruited police officers will be taking part in a charity walk all in aid of Victim Support Isle of Man. 3 groups will be setting off from the Ramsey, Peel and Castletown stations, all with a shared goal of reaching the finish line together at Police HQ in Douglas. Trainee constables Jessica Blaymire and Daniel Young have been telling Lewis Foster why they picked Victim Support as the beneficiary.
I just think it's a really great charity and sort of lifeline that helps people who are sort of rebuilding their lives after crime.
We were given the choice of which charity to support, and unanimously all 16 of us decided on Victim Support. As Jess has already mentioned, they provide essential support for people rebuilding their lives after crime.
As then trainee police constables, have you found a new appreciation for victim support since undertaking this new role?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I think they work very closely alongside the police, and it's just something that's really important to us, I feel, going forward in our roles.
Yeah, I mean, anyone can be a victim of crime, and that, you know, they're there to provide a free, non-judgmental service that's anonymous as well. It's massively important for the islands community.
How many of you are taking part in this?
There's 16 of us student constables split into roughly 3 equal teams, each team starting from one of the different out-of-town stations. The guys from Ramsey have drawn the short straw, so they've got the longest walk. I believe it's about 17 miles, and I think they're starting at about 7 a.m. All teams are trying to aim to be in for around 3 o'clock at Breeze headquarters.
Was it literally a case of drawing straws on who starts from where, or did people volunteer to go from where?
I think it was sort of mixed, so a lot of people wanted to walk in the areas that they lived. A few of the more sort of athletic of the lot wanted to do the Ramsey walk. It's just, you know, whatever people fancied.
Trainee police constables Jessica Blaymire and Daniel Young speaking to Lewis there. Do make sure to give them a clap if you see them out and about on Saturday. Not going to lie though, that does sound tough. I know I always joke about saying that I could do the parish walk without any training. Real talk though, I'm not even sure I could actually do what those trainees are doing, so best of luck to them. Right, let's turn our attention to sports now. And from this year, competitors at the Southern 100 road races will now be able to compete on next generation of supersport machines. Rob Pritchard is back again. He's got more details on this.
In a move, the Southern 100 Club says aligns the event with the evolving landscape of international and domestic motorcycle racing. All competing supersport bikes will have to run standardised electronic control units, or ECUs for short. They'll also have to adhere to balancing measures such as rev limits, weight requirements and performance parity adjustments. It's also believed these alterations will allow a variety of different engines to compete on equal terms and offer what's described as a more diverse and engaging racing experience. Southern 100 Club chairman George Peach adds, with the class having been a staple at Boulogne for years, embracing the next generation of machines will ensure the meeting continues to attract top teams and riders, enhance the experience for fans and keep pace with global trends. Meanwhile, today has also seen entries open for the landmark 70th edition of the Southern 100 road races, which are due to be held from the 7th to the 10th of July this year. Entry forms and regulations are available online at www.southern100.com. The deadline for applications to take part will be on Friday, the 31st of May 2025. There's already been a number of changes to racing in the south of the island from this year. In February, it was announced the Southern 100 Club have retaken control of running events at Boulogne from ACU Events Limited. A new name will also adorn the course itself, with Motoral becoming the circuit's new main sponsor.
22 minutes past 5 now, and searching for their first win in 8 this weekend, FC Isle of Man could end up playing a big role in the NWCFL Premier Division title race tomorrow night. They host high-flying Lower Breck, who are 3 points behind league leaders Bury. Ravens manager Paul Jones is expecting a difficult challenge, but thinks it's one his players can rise to.
It has been a positive season, full stop, really, although, you know, when you look at maybe league position or what our age were at the start of the season, we're disappointed at the moment, but there's lots of kind of underlying data that we capture that shows our processes and how we do things have improved, but also our performance levels have improved, and we've just not quite eked enough wins out. We're not losing as much as we did the last 2 seasons, but we're just not quite converting good positions in games. These next kind of 4 games, starting on Saturday against, you know, one of the hardest opponents there is in the league, are important to learn how to win again. It's a skill. It's something that comes with experience and practice.
Lower Breck, one of the teams fighting for not just promotion, but the league title against Bury. How good would it feel to come away this weekend with a win against one of the top teams?
Anyone's a good win in this division. You know, everybody, as we've seen, everyone can beat everybody. So, but Breck are a really good side. You know, we struggled in the first half against them away from home, but I thought we were the better team in the second half and didn't quite get something out of the game when we could have done. And winning, you know, breeds a little bit of confidence or more confidence in the group, doesn't it? And, you know, I think everyone knows we're in a really good place, but a few wins before the season ends would be really helpful to everybody. So it'll be like a big test on Saturday, but I think it's come at quite a good time. It really makes us concentrate over the full 90 minutes. It will really kind of make sure we're right at our best in order to give them a tough game, and that's probably what we need at the moment, just to kind of keep ourselves going. So yeah, I'm sure it'll do everybody good. So it'll be a really difficult game, but one that we're really looking forward to.
FC Isle of Man versus Lower Breck kicks off tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock at the Bowl in Douglas. And guess who's back again? It's sports editor Rob Pritchard. He's going for a pay rise. Fast am I, Rob?
Fast am I, Christian. Well, we're going to stay with the subject of football for a moment, because Peel and Braddon could secure the respective Canada Life Men's Premier League and Ardern and Drug Unlimited Division 2 titles in Manx football this weekend. In the top flight, Westerners Peel will claim the crown if 9th placed Foxdale, the only team who could still mathematically catch them, failed to win at Russian United. Elsewhere, Braddon, having already secured promotion, will scoop top spot in Division 2 provided they avoid defeat at Governors Athletic. There's also a huge showdown in the hunt for the main prize in Combination 1 as title contenders Onken and Russian United meet this weekend in a potentially pivotal battle. Well, in the Premier League, Foxdale, despite being 8 places back on Peel in the standings, have 5 games in hand on the league leaders and could theoretically match their current total. Meanwhile, in Division 2, Braddon reside at the summit and 9 points ahead of second place Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys with 3 games to go. You can view a full schedule of this weekend's matches at manxradio.com. In rugby, and a gruelling run in Counties 3 ADM Lancashire Cheshire is edging closer to its end with what will be the final home game for Vagabonds of a challenging season this weekend. Or whilst the Islanders will be on home soil tomorrow at Bala Fletcher, they face an uphill task against Colne and Nelson, who still remain in contention for promotion at the top end of the table. That game gets underway tomorrow at 2 p.m. Elsewhere, there's Manx Cup action taking place on Saturday at 1:30 p.m. at Portashee. Douglas go in as clear favourites against their visitors Southern Nomads. And finally, could we see more league titles decided this weekend in Manx hockey on what is the penultimate weekend of the 2025 Men's and Ladies League campaigns? One of 4 titles still up for grabs is the Men's Premier League. Backers A are in pole position and could win the trophy if they better the result of nearest challengers Vikings A. Elsewhere, Valkyries C will win Men's Division 2 if Vikings C can't take victory against Castletown C tomorrow. And Backers C are on the brink of the Ladies Division 2 crown. They'll claim it if they win against Ramsey B.
Very, very busy weekend with them, Rob. That's it for Update this evening. Thanks for joining us, but don't worry, there's lots more on the way for you. Rob Pritchard is running to Studio 1. He's limbering up. He'll be with you for Friday Sport. Chris Kinley will then be along from 6:30 with Greatest Hits. The Kane Brothers will jump in from 9. And then, of course, last but not least, Nicola Holt with the 90s playlist from 10. Dave will be back with you from Monday, all being well. So till next time, take care. Bye-bye for now.